pesky 3-second lightning storm, and obviously a lot more HP and mana, and just general survivability, obviously, because he's outputting so much damage that he's spell stealing quite a bit. He's just a monster. Tier 2 falls without much of a fuss.
I can't even really defend that. If you're eHome and you want to secure this game, you go for the Roshan, but the scary thing is I think EG would prefer them to do that and just take another fight, right? You just go for another Roshan fight and hope that it goes a little bit better. So you can surprise them for sure there, but allowing eHome to just set up and take Roshan for free is probably a death sentence.
Do you still complete the Manta this late on the Luna?
You might. They actually have
better
vision.
Universe, hello! Yeah, they have counter vision, my friend, and now that's the gem dropped. They've lost all control. Like, everything outside of Evil Genius's base is eHome territory now.
I think you just push mid if you're eHome now. Like, it's only Universe, but still. Universe doesn't have buyback, and it is one of your initiating stuns that you've got. It's not like PPD has a Blink Dagger, and so eHome's going to feel pretty confident now, especially since they just got the gem, too. The Glimmer Cape has just become so strong.
They keep the gem, the extra one, now in the Courier, sending it back to base. So even if they do lose that fight, they'll have a gem ready to go. The ultimate, all the spam essentially being dropped to try and slow down eHome while Universe is down for 15 seconds.
Looks like eHome is a little bit hesitant to send CTY forward, but I don't know why. They've got a BKB and an Octarine Core on him, but it just looks like they want to secure the win. And Lanam actually has the Vendetta, which shouldn't do too much, but I guess it's just one other thing to have to deal with.
Yeah. I mean, well, essentially, especially because they do not have... oh, no, they do. They have a gem now on Universe.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So
PPD had one.
Gem. So they do have a way to scout out the Rubik, I suppose. I was thinking Lanam would just sit very aggressively with his Vendetta constantly.
If he was able to do that, that would ruin the game. Oh, Manta is finished by YJ. You were correct. He did still go for it. You might as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why fill up the extra item slot when you're probably going to get the Aegis?
Yeah, and you're still going to go Boots of Travel to replace your Treads, and then the Scotty to replace the 6th slot, the TP scroll slot.
Exactly.
Is that the item build?
Yeah,
right.
I think so. More than anything, it's just if he goes for another item, he can't get the Aegis. Who else is going to hold the Aegis on eHome? Your Leshrac is 6 slotted. You probably give the Cheese to the Darkseer, who's got a wand to drop. It's part of Dota item resources. Oh, Roche is up. You think EG should fight a Roche?
I think they have to, right? I mean, it's a very clear role that eHome is on. You gotta try and throw a wrench in this banner, you know?
Yeah, Fierce TPing back already, but they gotta go for this finale. Yeah, Sumail decided to go for the Shivas. I think he had to. Like, it's not just the Luna or the Leshrac that matters. It's both of them, and they gotta move quickly. This is gonna be done pretty fast.
Too late. eHome already halfway through Roshan.
Maybe they don't even know that. They have to know that it's up. Maybe they just understand that they can't really fight in there.
I mean, they are going to be playing around buybacks quite heavily, I would presume. They still have... okay, they have no buybacks.
They have 0 buybacks.
It's all based on gold, and they have no buybacks. I mean, Storm Spirit has 12 Bloodstone charges, so that's a decently low death timer, but not low enough for you to die and continue to force the fight.
You need 1 per level, I think.
Yeah.
How do I not know this for sure?
That's usually how I read it. Like, if I have 15 Bloodstone charges by level 15, I'm like, yeah, that's about an instant respawn.
Yeah, so the Shivas is almost completed on CTY, and he actually is the one that takes the cheese, which I guess is okay.
I feel like this is one of the biggest item upgrades, despite, we're talking about all these like great late-game items for Luna and everything else. I feel like this Blink Dagger from DDC is actually one of the biggest pickups they can get over the last, 5 to 10 minutes, because that now means they have Blink Darkseer and Blink Winter Wyvern. If they manage to get a combination, the team fight's just over.
They've got... The problem right now for EG is that there's just so much lockdown on eHome right now. From the Winter's Curse alone, it's going to scare everybody on EG. Because you can't really group up, but eHome's lineup forces you to walk into them, and EG, they've pretty much got one shot at this, especially with no buybacks up, and there's no farm progression coming on the side of EG because they can't leave their base. So this next fight is really going to determine a lot. If they can hold, though, and you get a few more Bloodstone charges on Sumail, Storm is one of the best heroes at turning around a game that's lost.
and you've already got the, sort of like the maxed out E-Helm almost. So they actually now have a Vlad on Darkseer, another upgrade for, in particular, our Luna. And here it comes, the death push out from E-Home. In this game number 2 between Evil Geniuses, E-Home are desperate for a win. They've lost too many games that have been close. Shiva is now complete for CTY as well. YJ is already dropping a bit low. Of course, he's got a Satanic and Aegis. So if it costs him half his HP, and yeah, as he backs up, he immediately gets both an Urn as well as a Cold Embrace to heal him back up to full.
He still has the Manta too, so going for the high ground right here is not that big of an issue for E-Home. They just are so afraid of losing this fight.
Comes forward again, trying to do
Universe on the side though.
Yeah, they try and grab him, and Sumail jumping in on DDC, but immediately the Ghost Scepters are there to be able to defend. And down, Universe still doesn't find quite the opening he's looking for, and now that that's sort of been stunted, E-Home surge right back into the enemy base, look to be able to take that melee rack. Universe comes back in, Sumail jumping for bottom this time, but again, the Ghost Scepter is there. Sumail just has no effectiveness against that. Now, we do have our Luna dropping the Aegis. Fear actually gets controlled by the Winter's Curse and really doesn't do much there. YJ is going to be in a bad position because he doesn't have his BKB, but of course there's a Cold Embrace to keep him alive. Now Sumail actually hit by the Yule Scepter, plus the Split Earth combination controls him a little bit, but a good Force Staff to the side helps get him away. The ultimate out from YJ chases away the rest of Evil Geniuses, and they manage to actually do a lot, forcing E-Home to drop the Aegis and a couple of their heroes.
Oh, that bounce!
Oh, wow. Universe stuck out. Sumail's now going to jump in, going for Laudanum. They have a really good call down to be able to slow down the rest of E-Home. This could be EG cleaning up. They get one of the supports, but now YJ and CTY are still looking very healthy, and he's got the Satanic on top of that. Fear falls. He doesn't have a buyback. Evil Geniuses, this is just, they had too much of a deficit facing E-Home.
Yeah, and YJ got past the cheese, I think, in the middle of that fight at the same time. Yeah, it was used by him, and pops the Satanic to get to full. Storm is still alive.
Sumail looked for an opening there on one of the supports or something, but E-Home, this was the E-Home that we saw in one of our games, and we saw certain aspects of it in many of the other games that they lost. They can just look so clean and crisp in their gameplay and just not make any mistakes, and it just seems like they're an unstoppable team at some point. I'm not sure what really changed between Game 1 and Game 2 for them to get that kind of mentality, but if they keep it up, I can see E-Home going very far.
Yeah, Sumail goes 9-1-3 and still manages to lose, and what a weird game is. For once, I mean, they didn't even focus Sumail. Like, they let him pretty much have free reign, and just shutting out the rest of the cores, EG struggle, but E-Home managed to split this 1-1 and pass it back to our analysts now?
Yep, analysts, what do you think?
What do we think? Sidrin?
I don't know.
Were you distracted by your newfound toys here?
No, I was very impressed by E-Home in this game, actually. As I just said to you, which was not on camera, but
yes.
They played. I think their high ground sieging in this game with their two Aegis was really high quality. It was pretty much the same as. Okay, I believe we had a little bit of a sound issue there.
Hey, well, since it was off camera 2 times in a row, do you want to repeat what you
Okay, is my sound good now?
Yes.
I think we're
Yes.
good. Okay, we're good. All right, that might be on me. So yeah, E-Home played a really phenomenal game. I think as Blitz and Capitalist were pointing out in both games, they play really solid early game. In Game 1, they weren't able to transition correctly into the mid-late game. In this game, they secure Roshans. Their teamfight structure is really good. Their positioning, the way they spread out and disallow Storm Spirit from finding key kills early on in fights. And then when it comes to the base sieges, they use the Aegises very well. As I said to you, it was kind of secret-esque when it comes to the base siege. I think it was really structured. They had the right idea with Luna and Leshrac in front, the supports in the back, and just backing up very nicely with the Winter Wyvern, with the Cold Embrace, the Winter's Curse timings. Everything was beautifully done. Very, very impressive from E-Home.
Yeah, let's continue talking about the game as we bring up some highlights to showcase once again just how well E-Home played in that game versus EG. Ben, what about you? Were you just as impressed about E-Home, and was this a vastly different E-Home than we saw before?
Yes, but also I think it was a little bit of a different EG draft. The score was like 8 kills in like 25 minutes, which Nixus Assassin just does not fare very well in. This is a big fight taken up top, and Sumail barely makes it out alive, but they have a really far mid laner, and I think that's actually pretty atypical when Sumail is playing, but he's in a very underhanded matchup. Leshrac versus anyone, Leshrac is generally a big favorite, but you have to consider that PPD wasn't on a quote-unquote classic PPD hero. It wasn't an Abaddon and Omni Knight. What he actually did at the start of the game was very unusual. I think they had maybe wanted to wait to use this particular strategy, but what they did was get Tusk with level 1 Ice Shards and pull into the neutral camp. But that's a greedy play. That's actually an AoE play. So they don't actually have any help for Sumail in the mid lane. They don't have any pressure onto CTY. He's like getting bullied at his tower, and CTY was still beating Sumail in CS even though multiple creep waves were redirected to the neutrals. So that goes to show you how strong CTY's mechanicals and laning skills are, as well as how strong of a Leshrac he plays. So I think that he was just out of control in terms of farm, and PBE was still very, very weak and poor throughout the game. And yes, it's okay for him generally just because he's like a sacrificial hero, but Tusk isn't that sort of hero, and I think I view Tusk as like a big threat and a top tier pick just because he can just kill people very, very swiftly. So they just went away from their general recipe, and I don't want to say it's weaker, it's just different and didn't really counter eHome's 5-man playstyle very well.
They just kept playing 5-man, and EG just couldn't get their finger in. They wanted to get some kills early on, perhaps, or at least I would imagine that would be their game plan from the start, and they just couldn't because, I mean, eHome just stuck together and basically delayed the game until they thought, oh, hey, now we can fight. Now we're ready to
That's
actually
usually
go.
what EG does.
Right,
And then they went, and then there's very little that EG can do to stop
They
that.
needed more wave clear, though. I
Yeah.
think Winter mentioned it during the draft before. Is like they don't have much wave clear, and if eHome's going to 5-mate, you need wave clear. Before they had the Sand King as well as the Queen of Pain, both just clear at just demolishing creep waves in a matter of milliseconds. But this game, like we talked about, like Ice Shards, if that's one of the wave clears that you're relying on, you're going to have trouble defending.
Yeah,
Right.
You need those in the fights.
Yeah, so maybe a little bit of a skill disparity there. But as we go into, of course, another showcase here of eHome, just their excellent